Hi, my name is Jacqueline Coronel. I'm doing a project on Vygotsky's theory of social interaction for the Fundamentals of Education course micro-teaching assignment. Lev Vygotsky was actually born in Russia, and he studied at the University of Moscow, and he actually studied law. But he became so fascinated with psychology that he decided to become a psychologist. And then one of the big things that he focused his research on is what is called cognitive development. This is the process of acquiring intelligence and increasingly advanced thought and problem-solving ability from infancy to adulthood. Okay, so basically it's saying that we start learning in various different ways just as soon as we come out of the womb when we're little babies. And hopefully we continue learning throughout our life. In fact, that's a special characteristic of cognitive development, is that it keeps on going. He worked very hard to develop what's called the social development theory. He said, quote, "We learn through our interactions and communications with others." Okay, so basically what he's saying is that everything that we do causes us to learn from one another. When we're in the classroom, we're not just learning about science or math, we're learning about how to relate to different people, how other people are interpreting the different things, whether it be visual stimulation, whether it be audio stimulation, all kinds of different ways, okay? Culture also has a very big role in this. It says, culture is the primary determining factor for knowledge construction. Okay, this is a quote by Vygotsky. He says, "We learn through a cultural lens by interacting with others, following the rules, skills, and abilities shaped by our culture." Okay, so it's important to recognize that culture varies throughout the world. For example, here we have a married man with his 3 wives over in Afghanistan, where they're actually required to walk about 5 steps behind him, okay? And so that's going to play a very big role in how they interact socially one with another. Or for example, in Japan, where it's customary to bow to one another. I actually have the opportunity to be a foster mother, and part of being a foster parent is where it's part of your culture, if you will, to open up your home to perfect strangers and allow them to come and live with you. And as many of you may know, earlier in this year, we had a snow day, okay? The first time I ever know of that Tallahassee was out of school for about 2 days while we played in the snow. So here I am with, this is Alexandria and Madison, and we were playing in the snow. Okay, but how does this relate to learning? Well, according to Vygotsky's theory of social interaction, even just Madison here, looking at a glass that we collected the snow and we put it in, even her just looking at that, she's not just learning about snow, she's also learning about how to interact with me, how to interact with her sister, how to interact with the environment as she goes outside in the cold and we had to bundle her up. Okay, then here they are, both of the sisters are, and they're playing with the snow in the kitchen on the floor, and they became very surprised that the snow was melting. So they're having this all kinds of different stimulations going on, from going outside to the cold, to going inside to the heat, to the water touching their hands. So they're not just learning about what happens to water when it melts, they're feeling that as well, okay? Social behavior, okay? According to Vygotsky's theory, social behavior is a central characteristic. For example, keeping in step in a parade is actually not considered social behavior, because the other marchers in the parade, they're just objects around you that you need to keep in step, to keep aligned with, if you will. Okay? Now, take for example a soldier who just came back from, say, a war, who after marching in the parade sees his wife and children, or friends, loved ones, that definitely would become a social behavior. Okay. I teach Spanish, and when I was at Florida State University, I needed to better my Spanish. So myself and some other students, we traveled to Peru, and rather than sit in a classroom and learn about Spanish grammar, not that I'm saying that's a bad thing because I do teach Spanish, but we actually went to Peru and we interacted with the people there. Here we had a really muddy game of soccer going on, and we're taking a picture afterwards. And so we were able to learn not only the Spanish language, but also to learn other things by interacting. We were able to have a cultural exchange of knowledge as well as behaviors. in the classroom. Interactions with peers, teachers, and other experts facilitate learning. Okay, so here we have a little group of students where they are learning about Spanish. They have sombreros on their heads, so they're experimenting some different movements that can go along with that. Okay, they're also working one with another. They're tasting different things, so they're involving different senses in that as well. Social interaction includes discussion, collaboration, and feedback. Does she look familiar? Carol Ann Tomlinson, who should look familiar by now to us, right? She talked a lot about differentiated instruction. Differentiated instruction goes hand in hand with Vygotsky's theory of social interaction, because you're requiring students to work together in a variety of ways so that everyone can learn together. So differentiated instruction practices that we talked about, many of those can be applied as well to Vygotsky's theory of social interaction. Another thing that it can refer to is this INTASC principle number 2 of student development. It says, as teachers, we must understand how children learn and develop so that we can provide learning opportunities that support our students' intellectual, social, and personal development. So how do I plan to use this? Okay, one of the things that I talked about while I was answering my quiz 2 assignment, I wrote that sometimes within my classroom, students make fun of other students whose language abilities are not as developed as their own. I need to watch more carefully for this because a student's development can be extremely stunted when he feels embarrassed or threatened in the classroom. Every student deserves a safe classroom environment in order to succeed. It is my duty to provide this. Now it's your turn. Compare Vygotsky's social development theory and the INTASC principle of student development. Furthermore, are there any other INTASC principles that support Vygotsky's theory? If so, identify them. One more question. How can we, as teachers, create learning environments that involve social interaction in a more effective way? So let's just imagine that for a moment. Imagine your classroom, and then post about how you think that this can help to affect your classroom in a positive way. One example that I wanted to share with you guys is the Socratic seminars. And what happens is the teacher is basically kind of facilitates, as a moderator, if you will, where the students get into a circle, they place their desk into a circle like we see here. Sometimes you'll have students on the outside circle who are taking notes and also providing a little bit of feedback with their partner who's in the middle of the circle. If you'd like to know more about that, I did include 2 links down here. There's teachingchannel.org. You just go to it and type in Socratic seminars, and it will show you lots of examples, including the video that this picture came from. Also, zebzoomfreewebs.com explains it as well. And then here's my works cited. And thank you so much for listening. I wish you the best of luck in this class.